All right. Welcome to the 5-8, everybody. LB, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing? I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy to see everybody.
You too. You too.
Yeah.
I want to, before we forget, shout out to Chunk for that new opening credits, which is just sort of cool. I feel like it almost makes me want to get one of those Oculus devices and go in there and live.
Go into the club.
That cool vibe that he's
it's a cool vibe. That club is going to get slowly populated, and new things will be on there, and the pool balls will get fixed because we were running short on time actually. But beautiful work always by Chunk.
Yeah, so. he really did a good job. Mercury retrograde started today with the full moon. It's already doing its dread work. As you can see, I am not at home. I am in an undisclosed secure location where the Wi-Fi works. So knock wood,
Knock wood.
And so that's where I think
I still have to upload a little bit of media for you guys, right?
We can do that.
We'll do that. We'll do that as stuff goes along.
We can do that later. We've got a great show. Very excited for our guest. I think this is a perfect week to have our guest on. I don't want to, reveal the gender. That might be too much. We don't want to do that. We can't do gender reveal without like some sort of
explosion.
Event. Yeah.
Burning down the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's
how this stuff works, I think. Now. As if these things are permanent anyway,
not anymore.
They change. Is there anything else to say? Oh, I know what I wanted to say up front. I think everybody, thanks for watching. Anyone who's watching now, I think we just need to pour one out and just have a brief moment of silence for whoever Steve Bannon's cellmate is going to be.
Oh my
I feel
God.
very sad for that person. Can you imagine having to listen to that asshole? Whatever they did, I don't know that anything's worth that. So future cellmate of Steve Bannon, you have my sympathies.
Okay. Sympathies to that, although you realize he's going to radicalize that entire prison, right? It's going to be like Cutby. It's going to be, we're going to have a new brotherhood. It's going to be the worst thing ever, but maybe he'll stay in there for as long as he can.
Or pushing back, maybe just work with me here. Maybe the guys in prison won't like him very much because he's a fucking asshole. I'm just spitball. Just spitball,
I bet he knows how to make that toilet wine, though. I bet he comes in with that right off the bat. That guy's, he's making it.
Yeah,
he's
I don't
brewing
know.
it up.
I don't know. Orange is the new orange, I suppose, as they say. Yeah.
Okay.
Do I have anything else? No. Mercury retrograde. That's it.
Mercury retrograde, but this doesn't matter. And tell me about your 3 weeks real quick. And then I want to jump right in because I do want to get to our guest.
Well, I mean, nothing happened. Nothing like the FBI raid happened before I left. And it's just been sort of the fallout of all this stuff. That's been what I've, witnessed. And I was on Twitter the whole time. I just didn't write anything or appear.
You didn't take a break. Yeah, I saw. And you were still talking to me. This break did not happen. But we got it. We'll get into all that with everybody. I know there's a ton to talk about. And just even today, a fire hose of news happened today, but everyone's so distracted by the other big news that they've missed it. So we'll fill you in on some of the insanity. It's good, but it's a lot. There's a lot happening in the realm of justice right now that needs a lot of attention. So we're going to get to all of that as well. All right, let's dive into our first topic. I'm going to put 8 minutes on, but I don't think we need 8 minutes.
We're not going to get to 8 minutes with this.
We're not doing it. All right. Yeah. Here's our first topic. God save the king, Greg Goliar.
Yeah, the queen is dead. Even in the Washington Post, they said she was seemingly eternal. She is not.
No. We are all mortal.
Yep, she lived to a ripe old age, and the rainbows did appear. The skies did part, and the rainbows did appear, which is a neat trick.
So that was the Irish. That was us.
Okay.
Trying to get our gold back at the end of our own rainbow.
Well, maybe you can get it back from Charles III because, I think putting the 3 at the end there, I mean, it does class him up a little bit, but I don't know how well-versed he is in the history of English kings, but the first 2 Charles didn't turn out so good. He's got basically.
He's very well-versed. I think we're all getting a little bit of a shock remembering now, and you can give us a quick tutorial. It's unreal that he was actually named Charles when you think about it. And knowing that he was going to be king and we'd have another King Charles. Let's talk about King Charles.
Kings can change their name when they become king. Victoria changed her name when she became. This is a thing that they do, like popes. They can do this. And the first King Charles I, the Stuart kings, I learned in high school. These are the Stuarts. Here are their names: James and Charles, Charles and James. In between James, Charles, and Charles, there was the Oliver Cromwell business where Charles I kind of lost his head. Kind of a problem, for the monarchy. And then the second Charles was kind of this fop that they reinstalled on the throne and, wasn't really so popular. So, you have 2 kings named Charles who are very, very, very unpopular. So I don't know. Maybe it works for him.
Pick another name, dude. It's just whatever. That's what she named him.
Ethelbert is right there, Alfred, pick some old name of some guy. No. It's not happening.
We'll see. I don't know. It did feel like, I guess the one comment I have on it, because all the other comments, I have been incredibly restrained. I very much enjoyed Irish Twitter and Black Twitter finding each other again. That I have been occupying my free time with that. And just so I'm clear, there's no wavering in this, but it is complicated too. I love London. I do love England. I get it. There's a civility there that I do think their traditions bring in, and it makes it nice to be there. I don't know. I haven't been there in a few years because of COVID, so I don't know if it's gotten nastier. Brexit, certainly people were throwing up in the streets when I was there right after Brexit, and they were literally stopping and just puking. I was like, "Oh, Team Puke." That's what, and I was like,
Was
Trump
that
had just
Brexit,
gotten
or
in.
was that because the pubs were just closed?
No, it's people were freaking out. I'm telling you. And we had Donald right after that. So I'm like, I'm puking. Everything was puking. It was, but I still love it there. But I got a lot of problems with the monarchy. I just always have. I think there will be a reckoning. I do. I think it kind of to have it happening on the day or that sort of explosion of um it wasn't celebration, but just like, oh my God, maybe this monarchy is over from the people who have been oppressed by it or really ravaged by it, or their grandparents, or. So I think something's coming in there. I do think it felt like the last century was finally over. That was
Mm,
what I felt like. It was
yeah.
like, okay, that whole thing, we are finally in this new century, which just felt like I didn't think the aughts got us there. Then the teens were all messed up halfway through because of all the politics. It was just so we were all in horror, and everything's been sort of frozen for me. And I just felt like, okay, now we've moved into the next whatever this is that we're in. It's almost like she had to, because she
Yeah.
was a memory of all of that. So I don't know. That's all I have to say about it, guys.
Yeah. To us.
I
It's gonna
I
be
didn't get to
interesting to
put the
see what
title that
happens.
I wanted to put in here at the bottom of the
I know.
scroll.
I talked you out of it,
Yeah.
civility,
Civility.
but
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see, what happens with Andrew now. He will no longer enjoy his mother's protection. From what I hear, Charles is not as fond of him and protecting him as his mother was. We'll see
We'll
how
see.
that shakes out, if at all. It's interesting, Elizabeth did preside over basically the dismantling of this empire. Somebody made the point somewhere, I think in the Washington Post, that you know, it, for all the colonialism, she's in her reign, everything's gone. And with Brexit
Yeah.
is like almost the last nail. It's like whoever's king 50 years from now, or queen, is going to be, basically it's like Mercia and Wales, and they're going to have separate, it's completely shriveled up. So again, maybe it's appropriate that Charles is going to be around for this moment.
I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
All right. That's enough of that.
Enough of this. Enough of this.
Done. We're done early on that one. Let's have a
Good.
little drink. All
Okay.
right. We're going to go. You're going to talk, and I'm going to upload the thing that's going to happen after this for start us in on these. Okay, guys. So, yes, the FBI search warrant, I refuse to call it the R word because that's not what it was, but the FBI executing the search warrant and recovering all those boxes from Mar-a-Lago happened right before we left. So, and everybody knows what it is now. We did talk a bit about, because there was that whisper that came out that there were nuclear secrets in there.
Yeah.
Remember that happened?
Mhm.
And then that kind of went away for a while. And I was very nervous about that being weaponized, because everyone immediately went to, oh, nuclear weapons, nuclear weapons. Maybe, but there's a lot more involved with nuclear technology, science, advancement, and I was really encouraging people to use the word technology rather than weapons, because if it doesn't turn out to be weapons, even if we ever learn what it is, then it'll be called fake, right? So just this is a time, I think, for us, for what we can do, which is very little, but to just keep a real good discipline going about what we know, what is factual, what we can repeat, and not get into hyperbole as much as I'm a master of hyperbole. Just not get into it with these documents. It's too dangerous. And this is really, it's just it hits me almost every day, like the degree to which we are compromised because of this guy. There was a handful of us calling it on day one of like, oh my God, he's a criminal. And then you had Craig Unger on your show today, who was
I
great
did.
to remind everybody. Um, Yeah, and he's also a spy, and he has been for a long time, and it was always a national security threat to have that guy in the Oval Office, and then we flash forward to the 5 months after he, stood in front of the wall of stars and took a shit. um, he's we're we're seeing the images of him passing classified information to Lavrov and Kislyak in the Oval Office while Henry Kissinger was perched outside. So anybody who thinks this we weren't being compromised from day one of this guy getting in there, just the carelessness of it at the very least. But certainly I think there's malevolence there. That is me. I think there's real malevolence there. So, this isn't clowning around. This isn't, oh, he just likes to show off. This man knows what he's doing. He's always known what he was doing. He knew why he was in there. He knew what he was there to do. And we have to all just accept the fact that he did it. And God only knows. It's all out in the wild. All of that intelligence product is out in the wild. It's stunning. I believe it's going to be the greatest act of espionage in our nation's history. Like, nothing's even going to come close. Snowden won't come close on this. No one's going to come close on this. And not even in the same universe of this. This was the president requesting anything he wanted and not being held accountable or any checks on him for what he did with it once he had it in his grubby little paws.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And just to be clear, like we say, oh, Trump is a spy. And sometimes that's a word that I think people can quote unquote weaponize. But espionage, espion is French for spy. So when you're taking secrets and giving them to or selling them, we don't know yet that he sold them, but like it seems like that's where the the old trail is headed here. That's espionage. That's spy. That is what it is in its purest form. And the one thing I can say that's positive about all this, because there's very little that is from a Department of Justice standpoint, it's very difficult to indict him for obstruction with the Mueller stuff. It's difficult to indict him for doing the insurrection, even though we all know he frickin' did it. It's difficult to get just to prove that in a court of law. This is something it's pretty cut and dried. It's basic stuff. There's these super classified, top secret code level documents, and he fucking took them. And he took them for a long time. He took them to his golf club, which is populated by God knows who. We saw these. Remember that there was the Chinese national like hanging around in the boat outside. We have that woman who said she's a Rothschild, and they just let her right in.
I have to drink.
Yeah. That all of these people were there. I mean, how hard is it to penetrate Mar-a-Lago? You just need to write him a check and say he's great. That's all he cares about.
Listen, he was as late as 2021. He had started doing it before, but before he was out of there in even earlier than that. But after, we know he had that shit with him. We know he had those boxes with him, and Mar-a-Lago. It was reported, I think it was in what was it in? Forbes. Go look at Forbes, everyone. It was reported that they were again hiring 80 foreign nationals to come in on visas to staff up Mar-a-Lago. And so we're going to have to ask our guest, is that something that maybe foreign intelligence agencies might want to put their people in there? And
I don't know. I think the vetting is very hard.
Caterers. I mean, oh my God. The IT department, do they speak English? Is this all Russian? Is it Chinese? Where's the IT department coming from that Mar-a-Lago hires through this visa program to come in and be in the rooms? I got so many. It's so bad, guys. It's so bad.
Eric Trump did the video.
It's just a country club.
Remember? Eric Trump had that video, and it had the Wi-Fi address and the password written on the screen.
I think he intentionally did that. I'm sorry. I don't. Everyone thinks they're dumb. It is. Here's the thing about it. And then we're going to get to our little break and our guest. It's simultaneously the dumbest spy stuff or whatever stuff, the dumbest stuff on the planet. It's it's more of a joke than Austin Powers, which was a parody. It's worse than that. It's just so dumb and so obvious and so dangerous.
Yeah.
So dangerous. So when something is so dumb and so dangerous, you gaslight yourself just trying to come to terms with it. It's like, oh my God, it's so dumb. How can it be so dumb? And oh no, it's real and it's really dangerous. The stakes are the stakes. So I don't know. I forgot to set the timer, but I know we're at our time.
We're at our time. We're at our time. One more quick point. I know we're going to get to this.
Yeah.
Let's not forget Jared Kushner and all this. Jared Kushner's the guy that read the briefs. Jared Kushner's the guy that lied twice on his SF-86. He's the guy who went to Saudi Arabia and was just the de facto ambassador and who MBS said was in my pocket. He's the guy who allegedly passed off classified documents to MBS that led to the purge of the royal family. And when he left on his way out the door, he was given a parting gift of $2 billion in investment capital from Saudi Arabia.
Nothing suspicious at all there.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
Just,
just an author. We'll get to that.
Just a couple writers. What do we know?
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. All right. I uploaded that little clip for you.
Okay. That's for later. I see it. Okay.
No, it's for right now.
No,
we're our guest.
No, we have to do, we're doing the
we're not doing our karaoke?
Yeah, the karaoke.
Okay.
Karaoke's already there.
I know, I put it there.
No, I put it there 6 hours ago.
All right, let's go then.
Okay. I thought you were uploading something else.
Wasn't there. No.
Okay. I don't know. Mercury retrograde again. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Faster than a viral meme. More powerful than Russian propaganda. Able to craft tall tales with a single tweet.
Look, up in the Times, it's a spin doctor.
It's a show. It's Haberman!
Haberman. A flag for the slender man, playing down Donald's crimes every day in the New York Times. Trust wash, here comes the Haberman. Haberman, a modern day Walter Duranty, helping Trump normalize, spreading the MAGA lies. Gaslight, here comes the Haberman. Haberman, journalistical garbage can. Knew damn well Trump's a crook. Save the good stuff for the book. Get lost, please no more Haberman.
Okay.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun, It's fun.
Well, karaoke
I did
everybody.
that during you asked, what did I do during my vacation? I wrote Haberman.
You did.
I did.
You did. You wrote that little ditty.
Yeah. Okay. Without further ado now, let's bring on our guest. He was the assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI. He's the author of The FBI Way. Very good book. He has a podcast called The Bureau. You've seen him on MSNBC. Frank Figliuzzi, welcome to the 5-8. How are you?
Happy Friday, Greg, LB.
Happy Friday. What you drinking? What's everyone drinking tonight? We haven't done it.
Yeah, this is New Riff, Kentucky Straight Bourbon, with an extra high percentage of rye.
Oh, I love that. That's good.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Greg, what are you doing?
I couldn't make my Manhattan. I took the ingredients out and then I had to leave really quickly. So I have this this bootlegger New York straight craft. This is just straight bourbon whiskey. I think I would prefer having what Frank's having, but we have to make do. Desperate times.
Desperate times. Okay, I have a new drink for everybody not drinking or drinking but not having alcohol that I've discovered that I can't believe I haven't discovered it before. So it's just diet tonic and Rosie's lime juice. And it's fantastic. It's the most refreshing drink ever. I highly recommend. So there.
Okay. You could also put gin in it. That would be good too.
You could put gin, you could put tequila, you could put vodka.
Tequila,
You could do it all.
Tequila would work. And we're going to need it. We're going to need
good reposado.
Okay. Where should we start here, LB? What?
Okay. So Frank.
Yeah.
You're our go-to guy when it comes to understanding I think the scope of the horror that was Donald Trump. And right before you came in and before a little ditty, we were talking about how just this might end up being just massive. This thing, it already has the appearance of that because we have over 100 documents now actually being requested to be out of this special master debacle, because we've got to investigate, and the counterintelligence is coming from that office, your old office, requesting we need to go through this because we don't know where we're vulnerable in the world. We have to figure out what was in these, especially the missing folders, but also what was there and just completely out in the wild, and not secure, because there's big national security implications. So I guess for our audience, what would be amazing is if you just did a quick overview of counterintelligence office. Like, what does that mean that it's the counterintelligence part of the FBI that's asking for this? And how dangerous is this that it's out in the wild? Let's start there.
Yeah. All right. Let's try to condense it down. So counterintelligence, which again, if years ago somebody had told me you'd be on television regularly for 5 years trying to explain counterintelligence, the Russian threat, I would have said, first, you're out of your mind. Secondly, what in God's name happened to the country that requires people to understand counterintel? So you've got a savvy audience. They get it. But I always refer to counterintelligence as the 3 Ds: detect, deter, and defeat the foreign intelligence threat to the United States. And sadly, why we've all been talking about this for years is because it appears that a man holding the highest office in our land actually was and continues to be a foreign intelligence threat. But it's an inside threat. It's a domestic threat and a foreign threat, and it lives on, as many of us predicted. So the Counterintelligence Division of the FBI, and by the way, the FBI by executive order 12333 is the primary counterintelligence agency of the United States government. During my career, I had the pleasure and privilege of heading that division up. And look, we know that Trump now is charged potentially, I say potentially because it was listed amongst the 3 charges that the FBI is looking at on the search warrant, on the face of the search warrant. One of those potential charges is espionage. Oh, and so we have an unprecedented situation. We have a broad scope, worst possible scenario. The man with the highest access in the land at one point now apparently is under investigation for espionage. And we don't know where all his documents are, including upwards of 11,000 total government records and total records seized, and hundreds and hundreds of pages returned from Mar-a-Lago either by force, meaning a warrant,
Right.
or by subpoena, which is also force, or some kind of coerced voluntarism.
The lawyer's doing something.
Right, visits and negotiations with NARA and DOJ. So I find it ironic, though, as scary as this is, and as we've now learned that, yes, indeed, a nuclear-related document was seized amongst the search warrant documents. And we can talk about that as much as you want. I find it interesting that this week, while we've learned a hell of a lot, a month's worth of developments in a week, we also know that some of the simplest cases could end up taking Mr. Trump down. By that, I mean, we found out, for example, today that there is a separate and distinct grand jury, federal grand jury sitting, looking into Trump's PAC called Save America.
The election, the money he was raising, that he wasn't using.
At one point, $1 million a day he was taking in, raking in. I think it should be renamed the Fleece America PAC.
Yeah.
But, that's simple stuff. It's fraud. It looks like it's fraud. I need your money to help fight the battle to write the election. Well, the election didn't need writing. It was valid and he knew it. So that's fraud. But also he took that money and now we find out he's using it for things like Trump properties, paying for legal defense for the document case, paying for other people's legal defenses. So It's a fraud case that's separate, has a separate federal grand jury. We know that because people are talking about subpoenas they got in this case.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. And a simple fraud case would be very interesting. And the documents case, although complex, is really straight up. You've got stuff that you stole and you didn't give it back to us.
Yeah.
And you stole it. And it's really kind of simple. It's kind of like, as I said on Nicole Wallace today, let's not forget Al Capone was taken down on tax violations.
Yeah. Well, this is my wheelhouse. You know, the thing about Al Capone, and it was Elizabeth Friedman who did it. You know, it wasn't the G-man, it was the T-man. It was under the Treasury, and it was all of that.
Absolutely.
So, and she helped find those LLCs, and he got, you know, he was just avoiding paying taxes because he couldn't claim how he was making that money, is he was making it illegally. That's why the tax stuff is also intimately involved with the crimes, because it's forbidden fruit, basically. Or I always say with mobsters, especially those old guys, that if the government had actually come and said, okay, do whatever you want, you can do anything, you just have to pay 70% tax on it, 80%, that they would have taken that deal. Because it's the effort that they had to go through to compromise politicians, compromise law enforcement, you know, it's like if they could just go straight at it of their enterprises, they would have actually made more money because they would have been free to really prosper. So not that they didn't prosper enough. So the Capone stuff it's like the figuring out, the beauty of that was the first time I think law enforcement came in and said, we don't have to get this guy on mass murder. We can get him on tax evasion, and that's good enough. Let's stick him in there. You know, it's like the movie The Firm also, that was based on all of that with the book of like.
But I want to be clear. That's not to say. It's not to say that DOJ is not going full bore on Trump's attempts to overturn the election, the violence of January 6th. That's still going full bore. I don't want anybody to think that it's not, but that is complicated, and we don't know if we'll get there, particularly on the January 6th violence side. I hope they do. But the other big takeaway from this week is on the counterintelligence side is not being talked about enough, which is DOJ filed its intention to appeal with Judge Aileen Cannon in Fort Pierce, Florida, right? And they in that intention to appeal, right? They said it was scorched earth. I mean, it's polite legalese.
It's unbelievable.
They basically took her back to law school and said, like, you don't really understand this, and here's why. It's really scathing. But they said, look, attached to that intention to appeal is a letter from the head of counterintelligence at the FBI. And what does he say? Hey, look, I'm in charge of this mess, and you have to understand, we can't differentiate from the damage assessment you told the DNI she can go forward with, and the criminal case that you told us we can't go forward with regard to the search warrant seizure of documents. We can't.
It's almost like she didn't understand what espionage was.
Yeah. She goes, it's the same agents. It's the counterintelligence division. It's the same supervisors at DOJ and at FBI. Yeah. And he goes, this does not compute. You can't tell us. We can interview people on the damage assessment side, because I think something for your listeners to be aware of. Everybody goes, oh yeah, DNI is coordinating the damage. Yeah, coordinating, but she doesn't have agents that are with guns and badges that are going to go get grand jury subpoenas to do the damage assessment, to compel people to talk in the damage assessment. Those legs, that gumshoe work, is FBI agents, counterintelligence FBI agents. And are they supposed to interview somebody and go, hey, did you see the nuclear document? But I don't want to hear who else saw it. I don't want to hear, who gave it to you. I'm just trying to do a damage assessment. It doesn't work that way. And so that's what he said in his letter. And we're hoping that the judge, some sense will come to her and she'll say, okay. I'm just going to do a special master for personal documents and attorney-client privilege. And of course, not executive privilege, which doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist
in terms of a form.
Yeah. Well, he's not the president anymore. In order to have executive privilege, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure that in order to have executive privileges, one must be the executive, which he is not. despite what the pillow guy keeps telling us.
Yeah.
I have a question about all this stuff, because I feel like really for the last like 5+ years, every bit of information that we've learned about Trump, Kushner, all these guys has made us feel like he is more and not less guilty. There's never been a moment ever in the entire time when I've thought, oh, maybe he didn't do whatever it was. I always think, yeah, this is even worse than we thought. So I'm watching this unfold. Is there any scenario at all where he could possibly legally possess these things and it would be okay? Like, I can't even think of one.
So, look, I've said this before. The president absolutely is the ultimate declassifying authority, but he's not the Pope. He can't, wave his hands.
It's not a divine thing.
Declassify. So I dismiss the nonsense of Kash Patel. By the way, Kash Patel, I think, is going down in this, because I think he's fabricating this whole standing order. Everything's declassified as soon as Trump heads to his residence. No, but. So the short answer is, could he have declassified everything? Yes. Can he show his work, as my math teacher used to tell me in elementary school, and I never showed her anything. But can he show his work? There's markings that say declassified. I checked off a reason to declassify. I consulted with the community. No. And in fact, I have a feeling that they tried to fake it. I think.
After the fact, you think he was like with his marker, with his Sharpie, and he was drawing classified?
I do. I think the obstruction charge that we see in there may include that they tried to gin up declassification markings and a declassification order. But that's my conjecture.
I'm sure it's an educated guess.
Yeah, because it's him, right? Take out the Sharpie.
A little history there.
Take out the Sharpie, right? Declassified, last Tuesday.
Do not declassify.
Do not declassify. I think it's interesting you mentioned the Pope, because when the Pope issues a decree, it is called a papal bull, and I think that's a word that Trump, it applies to him, certainly. So stuff that he says.
Yeah, indeed.
It's a Trump bull.
I want to shift to this in the same area. Okay, so I was mentioning, because I was looking over, knowing you were coming on the show, and I was looking over. It's all Mar-a-Lago has always bothered me. It bothers me. I never liked it. I don't like it. I don't like that he went down there. I don't like he went on his golf course with everyone and did business out in the wild and up in. It's not Camp David. I don't like it. It's his personal business. I know that area of the country. I know those yachts. I didn't like the yachts. And Greg brought up the Chinese woman coming. Everybody was completely possessed with like what she had on her, as if she was going to go plant something. But what if she was taking something? What if she was there with knowledge and she was being handed shit, right? We don't know this stuff, right? So they have this employment agency that they hire foreign nationals through to work at the club, Frank. Okay, so there's a whole Forbes article. So because I think most of the country is maybe just a little bit more informed than the judge overseeing this, Judge Cannon, who doesn't understand espionage and doesn't it's just, there's such an ignorance around the world. Like, we can buy it if it's in a movie, but people don't have the imagination to just sort of say, okay, but here's real life. Wouldn't something like that, an employment agency that hires foreign nationals and provides visas specifically to go work at Mar-a-Lago, where the president is, would that or would that not be what we might call a soft target for foreign intelligence services to put their people?
Yeah, under the phrase soft target in the counterintelligence handbook would be a photograph of Mar-a-Lago. It is. And quite frankly, I can't imagine being the Secret Service head of detail that has to figure out how to, and has had to for years, figure out how to secure Mar-a-Lago. They can't. They can't.
Really, that's why you had Tony Ornato in there. You go ahead and get his lackeys in there.
I mean, you look. So there's good news, bad news. The vetting of staff there. Although,
it's staff. It's a country club, Frank. It's a country club. They have pool guys. They have maids.
Yeah, I mean, but
maids in the rooms vacuuming.
Right.
Those omelets aren't going to make themselves. Come on.
What about the IT department? They have to go fix the TVs in everybody's room.
The best that
I can't with this. I can't.
to run, you run a background on a foreign national, you're at the mercy of that foreign government telling you, right? Yeah. So you have a Chinese national. Yeah. Can we please have a background check on the Chinese guy serving the omelets? Yeah, sure. He's good. China tells us, yeah, he's good. So it's a
and
nightmare.
Jared Kushner with his special clearance, his extra special clearance that doesn't exist, that Trump awarded him like a prince. Here, I'm going to give you a title now.
Well, don't forget the.
Oh my God!
Amongst the reasons cited for a search warrant in the unsealed affidavit, we see that the subpoenaed CCTV security camera coverage from the hallway in front of the storage room at Mar-a-Lago, quote unquote, alerted or alarmed DOJ. Okay, so what does that mean? It means people are traipsing in and out of there. Who are they? I don't know. Are they staff or not? It almost doesn't matter because, anybody can be bought. Anybody can be bought. And especially if you're getting paid by someone notoriously cheap, like Trump, right. And a foreign service comes along and says, particularly if you're a foreign national, and your host government comes back and says, your mom and dad are still back over here. And we'd be really happy if you were to go in that room and show us some things and take some photos. We also know that amongst the reasons cited in the DOJ intention to appeal this week was, hey, judge, your ruling barring us from criminal investigation is, quote, could impede our ability to identify additional classified records in other places. Oh, okay. So yeah, security, Mar-a-Lago, how many places, how many rooms, where beyond Mar-a-Lago? How about Bedminster? How about
Trump Tower? That guy guy was named, right? That we saw carrying the same boxes with the blue tape into Trump Tower.
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
And we need the judge to either, for self-serving interests, say, okay, I am about to become a laughingstock at the beginning of my judicial career, and I need to do this right. And I'm going to grant the stay. I'm not going to enjoin them from criminal investigation. I'm not going to allow a special master to see nuclear material. Or we're going to the 11th Circuit, and, we'll see what happens. But I'm glad. I applaud DOJ's decision to appeal it. It had to be appealed.
They had to do it. And I just, not that I'm a lawyer or know anything about this, but it's like, you can't just let this. I just don't want to. I said this on Twitter, and I don't want to ever take it off the table that, this is a person who's writing qualifications that she listed to get this job was writing fitness and yoga in a fitness magazine. So not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not
forgot
exactly,
the flamenco dancing.
And flamenco dancing. Those aren't, so this very well could be somebody who believes that JFK Jr. is still alive and Joe Biden is not Joe Biden, but somebody wearing a Joe Biden suit. And, the judges are people too, and they're subjected to all of this garbage that's out there. She's very young. She's very inexperienced. She's clearly completely over her head. She got taken to school. I don't even know if she knows she was taken to school. All I know is that she set women back. It's like, oh my God, you just set us all back.
And yes, indeed. But on a even larger scale, it's the continued erosion of credibility in our institutions now, including the judiciary. People, the average person now on the street, if you ask them about the credibility of the federal judiciary, they tell you it's horrible. And this is part of it. The 11th Circuit may have a chance to make that right, but I'm not enthused about that either.
Is there any reality that the intelligence services didn't give him everything, that there were some people in there that were like, this guy is clearly bad and we're not going to show him X, Y, and Z? Is that even something that could possibly happen?
There's been public reporting, I'm sure you've seen it, that throughout his tenure, the briefers and the intelligence agencies were reticent to show him everything.
Especially after Helsinki, right? Helsinki just raised everyone was on alert anyway, but that just made it.
Well, and don't forget, he gave up another country's classified in the Oval Office to the Russians.
That's right.
He then posted separately. He posted a satellite photo showing Iran's nuclear facility.
That's right.
That was highly classified because it showed our satellite capabilities. So yes, are people reticent to share classified with him? You bet. And the damage, of course, across the board is to our allies saying, hey, we're not sharing with you anymore. We're not sharing with you anymore. That's horrible. But yeah, and again, the erosion of the intelligence community, the ability to recruit someone for Team America overseas and say, you need to play on Team America. Yeah, really? Is my stuff going to go to Mar-a-Lago? Horrible.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to talk about something else with Frank real quick. Can we show something? Let's lighten it up. Let's lighten it up for a second because it's so dark. I'm sorry. These thoughts are like, it's too much. Put that graphic up there.
Oh yeah. I was going to do it at the end anyway, but all right, you have to tell us about this cruise because this sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. So look, I know we've been through COVID now over 2 years of really feeling like we can't travel and let loose, and then many of us, particularly savvy listeners like yours, are tuned into gruesome stuff. You just said it's been dark, right? And I say summer is ending now, and it's time to think about next summer. And so I've decided we're all going away. We're going to get out of here and unplug.
Yay!
And we're going to go to Alaska, June 23rd, on a 10-day cruise on Oceania. People who follow me on Twitter get first dibs on this, but we're going to have some fun on a very small, very well done cruise. It's time to plan for next summer. It's time to say, Frank's good in 8-minute segments on television, but what's he like for 10 days on a cruise? And
I love it. And can you see Russia from your cabin?
And I can see Russia.
Are we on the clock?
Because it's Alaska. Yeah. And if you want to, there'll be sessions where we can talk and you can grab me on deck and, say, hey, what's going on? And, I
love it.
If you want more information, you go to my website. You can go to Oceania. You can just look Frank Figliuzzi Cruise. But my website, my Twitter site's got all the info.
Are you a big cruise person, or have you not been on a cruise?
So here's the thing. I know a lot of people are cringing right now, going, "Oh my God, it's a floating petri dish after COVID," right? But a couple of things. One is I was a number 2 official in FBI Miami for 5 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I know West Palm and Mar-a-Lago and all of that. But as a result of that, we got Florida resident discounts, last minute discounts. So our family has cruised. Even when the kids were really little, we did the Disney cruise thing, and we've done all because it was right there. And I'm telling you, you can't beat the value because you can unplug. I used to tell my bosses, sorry, you can't reach me. Sorry, bye. And
be on a boat.
Yep. And try to replicate that value on land. You can't do it. And now post-COVID, look, we're looking good. There's a new vaccine out. I'm going to be getting it. It's got multiple variants in it, right? I'm good. And I think by next summer we'll be looking.
I think we'll be good. Yeah.
And we'll be compliant. The ship, the industry is going to be compliant with whatever's out there.
Yeah. I think everyone's figured out how to do it too. Where you wear a mask, where you don't wear a mask.
So LB and Greg, I expect you to be signing up. And
I'd love to go to Alaska.
And we're going to go on some excursion and take the binoculars and see if Sarah Palin's on her back porch.
Oh no, I don't want to see her.
Oh, no. All right.
No, I might imitate her, but I won't go see her. All right, I'm so happy you're doing that.
So everybody should take a look at this. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and you know what? We need to keep it. We do have a community going, and it's nice to have experience with folks is, I try to do as much in real life stuff with my community and the people that I know. I've met people through this Twitter, through this whole thing that we did for 6 years.
Yeah.
Like Greg, they're just my closest friends, and we do as much. If you don't see me retweeting people on Twitter or doing all that, it's because I'm talking to my people on the phone.
It's true. They're good people, right? I get stopped in the supermarket aisle. I get introduced to a really nice person. Yeah.
And you've got a lot of love happening here in the comments. I just wanted to make sure I said that.
Absolutely.
Laughter is healing medicine. It's so great. Great idea. Everybody wants to go.
Yeah,
so maybe we'll sign up, everybody. It'll be fun. It really will.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's go to our next segment. You want to stick around for another segment?
I'll stick around for a while.
All right, we're going to
gotta do Stephanie Rule later tonight. So here's a shameless plug. Never mind the cruise. Yeah. MSNBC. There's a special tonight. Stephanie Rule is in addition to the 11th hour, which shockingly is also at 11 p.m. But we're doing a special at 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll be there recapping the week.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I'll tune in.
All right. So you do have to leave at a certain point.
Because, again, so much happened. Yeah. Another thing that happened, let's take this into our next segment, Greg.
Okay.
Another thing that happened was Donald filed a lawsuit against a whole bunch of people. And the judge just eviscerated it. And then another thing that happened, this is all why the Queen is dying. We're learning all this. Another thing happened was the fraud thing that came out on Donald of like, okay, you're running a scam too, right? We got Steve Bannon now going, but this was a scam as well. You're running a scam. And then there was something else, Frank. I can't even remember it now. It all happened in like 3 hours. Just boom, 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 boom. All this news broke. Yeah. The Friday news thing is back. So I want to take us back a little bit further and let Greg, you lead us in there. But we seem to be forgetting that Jared Kushner is still slipping away and slithering around almost half of these things, right? And it's good to remind people what that individual was up to.
Yeah. I wrote a piece in 2018, so now it's almost 4 years ago, called Boy Plunder: The Many Crimes of Jared Kushner, in which I outline all of the things that he did up until that point, and that was 4 years ago. Lying on the SF-86s, the whole business with Saudi Arabia. There seems to be evidence with the Qataris that he was behind the blockade to try to get, he needed money to fund that 666 Fifth Avenue that he magically got, and then the blockade went away. There's a lot of things in that article. That was 4 years ago. Nothing happened. He wasn't charged with anything, and he went on to lead the task force for the pandemic response, which he, and again, this is reporting by Catherine Eban at Vanity Fair. He held this group of people together. They came up with a plan, and he shot the plan. He was like, "Fuck it, we're not doing that because I think that it'll be worse in the blue states, and if it's bad in the blue states, it'll be good for Trump when the election happens."
Right.
And
we'll blame the governors.
Like,
we didn't
setting
have that
aside
response.
how ghoulish and awful that is, the three states that were the most hit at that time by COVID-19 were New Jersey, which is where he's from and where his parents live, New York, which is where he lived most of his life, and California, where his brother lived. These are his friends and family that he's just like, fuck them, let them all die. And 1 million Americans are dead of COVID. We've forgotten sort of about this, which is, I think, in many ways, it's not as urgent a scandal as J6, but it's really horrible. And these guys did this. And, the disease was here. People were going to get sick no matter what. But the way that they politicized the response, the way that they didn't do things early on that they should have and could have done, even like Kushner's roommate from college was telling him, you have to do this, this, and this. And he just ignored it, So, and now this guy, while all this is going on and I'm on my vacation, he's on a book tour. He's written this book, which is I read the beginning of it, the free part that's on Amazon. It is a gaslighting. I mean, he's going on and on like he's like Marshall at the end of World War II or something. And it's like, dude, you killed 1 million people.
Well, Greg, I'll just point out, because you got my attention as someone who's authored a book. He's posting that it's a New York Times #1 bestseller, but please look at the notation on that posting. Right? There's the little cross mark underneath indicating New York Times has detected volume purchases.
No way. Get right out of town.
Shocking, right? So he has the audacity to tell people it's a #1 bestseller when it's based on bulk purchasing.
Yeah, and for people not aware, that just means that one of his benefactors, whether it's his dad or the guy that owns him in Saudi Arabia or whoever, just plucked down big dollar for a bunch of copies. But he has not talked much for the entire Trump campaign. He was very much in the shadows, I think by design. He's now on this weird media tour, and does he believe this? Like, it's really, you look at the guy and you're like, is this gaslighting to the nth degree, or do you believe this shit? Because this is crazy pants, man. Like, we get it. You killed a bunch of people. You got paid $2 billion. At least have the common decency to shut the fuck up and fuck off. Like, at least let us not hear from you ever again. Well, count your lucky stars that you ripped us off and killed us all and go away. That's all.
Well, let me follow up on that a little bit, because why did he need to write a book? He didn't need the money. He's not like, is it truly a delusional state of thinking somehow Ivanka and I can emerge from the stink and the horror and the bloodshed of what we inflicted? I mean, they are, one of the first tweets I ever did in 2017 was calling them, it was like great quote from Gatsby of a Daisy,
Tom
right?
and
They
Daisy.
just like, they just, lay waste to everything, and they were reckless and all that. So is it that? Because I always contended that Jared is the dumbest. Like, if you went down, literally below Eric, like really, I think
below Eric.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Wow.
Eric is dumb in a different way, but Eric will do the job, right? Jared, there's something going on there, and Donald always seemed terrified of him. Here's the one person who would claim credit for anything that looked good during the Trump presidency to the base or anyone else. Jared would say, well, that was me. All right, Middle East peace, that was me. The border situation, that was me. The redoing the NAFTA, that was me. It was all him. And if anything
Firing
was not
Comey,
okay,
that was me.
He didn't have anything to do with it. When does Donald Trump let anybody take credit for a win? Ever? What is it about this kid that freaked Donald Trump out so much that he would never, ever, he just had full reign of the place at all times? I know what my suspicions are. I'm interested in your suspicions. You don't have to say them on our little show here. But what the hell was going on with this guy? And then he has to have a book. Now you need a book, and he's doing the book purchases himself. Why? Because Ivanka wants to be a senator and be a female president.
This was an 8-minute segment.
1 minute left. Yeah, 1 minute left on my old phone.
Hey, look, I just hope, and I am not in the conjecture business. I'm just going to say that I hope that nuclear document about a foreign country's capabilities isn't information that would help Saudi Arabia.
But don't you think it is?
I hope not.
You hope not. What if it is?
Well, I mean, $2 billion to Jared after the Saudi government's counselors told them, nope, this makes absolutely no sense. Nope, this is high risk. Don't give this kid $2 billion.
Yeah,
they did. The Live Golf Tournament. The Saudis.
Had a great ad for that, Frank.
Saudi,
I'm so glad you haven't seen it.
No.
I'll send it to
you privately.
Saudi government now thinking they're the PGA. Something that going to Bedminster for those not following golf. But yeah, something's wrong. Something's wrong there.
Something's up. And it's been up for a long time. And it's been right in all of our faces this whole time. And I think the frustration is, why can't it stick? And it can't be, the answer to that for me can't be the same old answer for everybody else, where it was like, okay, why isn't it sticking? Well, because they're cooperating in something, they're handing something over, they're doing something, they're sliding and slipping their way out of whatever, or they have protection from somewhere else. And we bow down to that because of relationships that we need in other areas of national security. However, I don't know that how can we play that card right now? Because this in and of itself is our national security threat. This is it.
And I'll close on the Jared, on my comments on Jared. One of the things that really jumped out at me, right in line with what you're saying, is really made an impression. The videotape of his deposition before the January 6th committee. Remember the attitude, right? And I felt like, God, if somebody was in an FBI interview like that, I would lay into them, arms folded, kind of looking at the camera with disdain. And they're asking him about that time period right around January 6th, right? He goes, I don't know. I was busy. I was just trying to push through as many pardons as possible. That is the I'm above it all.
That's right.
Nothing sticks to me. And I just confessed that I was trying to push through as many pardons as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where does that confidence come from, Frank? We'll leave that for another show.
There you go.
But it's coming from somewhere. It's not just out of nowhere, everybody. It can't be. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
You don't do a book for this is no. I see him.
Yeah, I've seen him for a long time, and I think 'cause he grew up 20 minutes away from where my parents live. I mean, the Kushner place is like right down the street from where I grew up. So maybe that's why it bothers me so much. I don't know.
So
really bothers
you can see Kushner from your house.
From your house.
Yeah, I don't need to
And
take a
Tony Soprano.
cruise to Alaska to see Kushner. Yeah, maybe at some point I'll need to take a cruise to the UAE to see Kushner, but not quite yet.
A lot of sense. A lot of sense.
All right, so you pop out whenever you have to. We're going to roll right into our last
Thank you.
segment. We do a little announcement thing here, which I'm sure Greg wanted to do the announcement of your show there, but I didn't know if we were going to lose you early. So again, the Alaskan cruise, they can find it on your Twitter.
We'll look at
anything
it one more
else
time.
you want to?
Yep, my Twitter,
There it
at Frank Figliuzzi, or my website, frankfigliuzzi.com.
Great. Tell us about also your podcast, everything else. How's all that going?
So listen,
is there a new book in the works?
So here's the deal. I have pressed pause on the Bureau podcast because I'm working. This isn't we're not fully disclosing this yet, but on a significant project that requires a lot of my time. It will become more public relatively soon, but I needed to say no to something, and I've said no to the podcast. Now, for anybody who wants to take a deep dive into the FBI, go on wherever you get podcasts. Find the Bureau with Frank Figliuzzi, and you will take three seasons worth of deep dive into the FBI, including the entire first season. Every episode is an interview of an active duty FBI employee. Never been done before by anyone outside the FBI.
I love that season.
We go into really fascinating corners of the FBI, to the DNA, PhD scientists, FBI dog handlers, crime scene guys that have seen everything at every horrible crime scene in the last 5 years. All of that, every episode. And I'll put this teaser out there. One of those episodes has turned into the big project that I'm working on.
Okay.
That is thrilling. Congratulations.
Yes.
I don't know about this, but I get it. It's easy to read between the lines. It's thrilling. And when you can share all that information, like where we're going to be able to find that project and when it's on, you just let us know and come back on, and we'll promote the heck out of that.
I promise. Thank you.
Greg, did you have any announcements? Anything going on?
Just my podcast is back. My podcast is back. I'm back. I had a 3-week layover, and now I'm back. I had Craig Unger on today. It was a lot of fun. We just laughed the whole time how crazy everything is. And yeah, that was a good one. I've got a bunch of interviews lined up that are really good. So,
Okay, great. My stuff is the same, everybody, except it's all moving forward and it's very exciting. And I will be in Times Square because there might be a billboard and it might be very exciting. And I'll let everybody know when it happens and take a picture. I never do anything like that with anything I'm involved with. I'm always so low key. But this one I'm like, okay, I'm going to New York. We're gonna take some photos of this. It's pretty fun.
That's cool.
So I'll let everybody know when all that happens. It'll be great. And then just I'll give this little thing. I don't have their permission, so I hope it's okay. But I know it's coming. Next week is Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation. The gala that they always have, but there's also places we can go and continue to donate. There'll be some great announcements coming out of that body. And I think when we're, look, as far as I'm concerned, she was our queen, and this woman's legacy and her body of work and how the folks that handle it and manage it and continue working on behalf of Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation today are moving things forward in such a promising and exciting and invigorating way that, there's still good stuff out there, guys. There's still people doing really good work and making a huge difference. So if anybody wants to check any of that out, I encourage you to go to their website, look at what they're up to, and then there'll be more hopefully coming out over the next few weeks about all that. So just that. Great. And I might be getting in a gown and then I'll maybe share some pictures. I don't know. I don't really want to, but.
Sounds good.
I wish I should have an Instagram. I don't have Instagram. Okay, last segment.
Yeah, we'll keep it short. We're
going to keep this short. We're naming this with Frank right before we came on air. We're trying to figure out what to call this, but it's really, look, Biden gave a big speech while we were off. And I think it's a hugely consequential presidential speech. On top of all the accomplishments that he's the wins he's been having lately with legislatively, he's been incredibly successful. So we want to talk about all that, but just to not dive into something that's partisan or too political, I feel like that speech was a real acknowledgement of everything that we've all been waving our arms about and the threats we've all been saying, these are real threats. And the historians and the experts like Frank and the writers like us and people who are influencers, everyone just going, please, please, please pay attention to the creep of fascism and authoritarianism and the radicalization that's been happening within our own body to one another. We don't need outside help anymore. We're doing this to ourselves. And I thought that Biden's speech just really calling out and making a distinction and calling it what it was. He could say semi-fascism. I was fine with full fascism, with this perversion of this party in a two-party system, and how dangerous that is for all of us, and how we are now all need to be guardians of our democracy because we're being attacked from this volatile group on every front, from our rights, our control over our bodies, to our education, to the book stuff that's been going on, everything, the whole thing, to then this big lie, this insurrection, this advancement of political violence, the growth and the threat of these militia parties and these domestic terror parties that are threatening violence on other Americans every single day, and open about it and embracing it, to something like Marco Rubio, who is the minority member or chair on the Senate Intelligence Committee, going on Fox and saying that those documents were a storage issue.
It's inexcusable for that.
Yeah.
Inexcusable.
So yeah. I was proud of our president and we need our president to speak truth into the moment. So it's not just us waving our arms around. Anyway, what do you think of that, Frank?
So it's interesting. I've got a column out today. It just came out today. I regularly write a column for MSNBC Daily, and people can subscribe to MSNBC. It's free, but you sign up and you're going to get some really talented people that writing. Joyce Vance, Barb McQuaid. We're all weighing in on events of the week. But one of the things I write about is the anti-radicalization, de-radicalization process with regard to this other news that came out this week. The Oath Keepers membership list has been It's been dissected. And you're saying, Frank, how are you going to get back to Biden's speech on this? Okay, so everybody's focused on, oh my God, there's like hundreds of police officers that are active duty that have been found on these leaked membership lists for Oath Keepers, including chiefs and sheriffs, active chiefs and sheriffs.
Yes.
Okay. But the ADL did a great job dissecting this, but the Associated Press grabbed it and went and confronted or approached all those chiefs and sheriffs.
Oh my gosh, I missed that.
But here's the deal, and this is what I write about in the column. There's some good news in this, as depressing as it is, and it's a glimmer, but it's there, which is every single one of those chiefs and sheriffs that was approached that responded said, too extreme for me. I'm out. I was never really in it. I never paid my dues. Somebody else signed me up. I'm not with them. So people can go, oh, that's a bunch of BS and that's all forced and feigned. You know what? That's okay, because what it tells us is we're doing something right. There is now a stink on the Oath Keepers that law enforcement leaders are like, yeah, I need to wash this off. And even if it's just fake, it's progress, because nobody approached, said, hey, I still believe in their cause, man. There's still some good in what they do. Nope. 9 indictments of Oath Keepers for seditious conspiracy, 5 is it 5 Proud Boys and 9 Oath Keepers? They don't want any part of it. They're like, no, I'm done. I never was there. That I see that. I've grabbed onto that as a glimmer of hope that we're doing something right. So how does it get to Biden? The speech is part of a de-radicalization strategy. Yeah. Call out, you need some other leader besides Trump who says, yeah, this is anti-democratic. This is bad for America. And I'm going to do it boldly and call it out. And then at the end of the speech, he offers something else, which is you can be a part of another group. You can be a part of a group called a civil society and democracy. He's calling it out and he's offering something else. So that's the value I see in Biden's speech. And I've tied that into the Oath Keepers, cops saying, yeah, nope, not me. No, I don't want
it's off-ramp time.
Yeah, that's what I just wrote down in really big. Off ramp, really big.
Off ramp, exactly. Call them out, and then give them another option.
Yeah, that was the genius to me of the speech. It wasn't just the calling out, which is important, and I think there is always a tendency when you're the president. Obviously you have to be the leader, but sometimes you have to take your time with things. You can't be on the vanguard of something like that. You have to wait and have other people say it first before you can say it. Just like when Obama had to sort of take his time with the gay marriage thing, even though obviously he believed in it, just politically he had to take his time to say it in the way that he said it. It's a similar kind of thing at work here with Biden calling it out. Yeah. Now that he's called it out, he's also given everybody an off-ramp. He said, it's the MAGA Republicans. It's not all the Republicans.
Right. Really important.
Are you a MAGA or are you a regular person?
Really important. He made the distinction between MAGA Republicans and reasonable Republicans who, quote, I have worked with before, unquote, right? And people are going, yeah, that's true. Yeah, there used to be reasonable Republicans. So I love it. I think he did the right thing. And all of the Fox News people jumped on semi-fascist. He's calling us semi-fascist. But he's offering an off-ramp and he's doing the right thing.
Yeah, he's leading.
Yeah. He's leading, and I think, I've said this a million times, we've been sick of it. I think he's doing a really terrific job and is not across the board and is not being given enough credit for it by both sidesing of our media and stuff like that. Like the whole Ukraine thing, which we have not talked about, but the way he's handled that is amazing, I think. Given the constraints and the really, really, it's a tough needle to thread to be able to fight back without escalating and all this kind of stuff. He's played it masterfully.
Real quick, I know you've got another guest. I hope you do. But
no, we're leading. You're it.
Oh my God! So look, the Ukraine. I love that you brought this up because what are we getting? Again, God bless, God save the Queen, long live the King, and all of that. We're getting incredible coverage of the death of Queen Elizabeth. But what we're
no, keep going.
No, forget it.
So what we're not getting the coverage is what you just said. There are incredible things going on right now with the Ukraine-Russia battle. Do you know that a district in St. Petersburg all voted to charge Putin with treason based on the war? Do you know that another district closer to Moscow voted, to do him in? And of course, they're all being jailed. But the thing is, they knew they were going to get jailed. The leaders of these major districts said, we're going to risk it because and you know what's going on over there. Your brother, your son, your father, your next door neighbor isn't coming home from the war.
That's right.
And you're getting lied to. And you go, that's enough of that. The guy's treasonous.
Right. It's literally life and death for those folks. St. Petersburg spoke up immediately. I love it. That's where there's an area where he's from, and they're the ones really going hard at it.
That's it.
Yeah, it's really great. And then
that's not getting covered.
It's not getting covered, and now we have this, the Queen, but just today, the last 24 hours, the Ukraine forces have liberated.
They're kicking ass.
Areas. They're kicking ass, you guys. I check in on that. Like it looks like the whole oblast they've got it all back. They're getting it's stunning everybody how they've been able to really move.
And that let's not kid each other. That's Biden and the United States.
That's right.
In a big way.
That's right.
Yeah.
And our allies, really.
Yes, absolutely.
Which we've now pieced back together. I mean, even Boris Johnson was sucking up to Biden. It's a thing. Like he did that. Trump spent 4 years trying to destroy it, and Biden put it back together in like 2 weeks. That's what happened.
And added 2 countries to NATO.
Exactly.
That's right.
Which is, by the way, I know this is a real tangent,
the
but
sniper
Putin's
country, too.
whole
I love
thing
that.
of NATO is going to invade me. If we were ever going to invade you, we would be doing it right now because literally your entire army is in Ukraine. There's no one to defend your incredibly large country. We don't want your country, Putin. We don't want it. We don't care about
He's
your
had
stupid
to
country.
hire mercenaries to fight, and he's had
Yeah.
to get parts from North Korea. It's bad for him.
It's
bad for him.
show.
I just want all the children that they stole to be able to go, not with the people who stole them.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. That haunts me. Yeah.
We're going to
That
hear
really
some terrible stories coming out of that place after the liberation too, I'm sure. So we got to, brace ourselves for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk about ending on a high note.
But there's good news. There was some good news in there. So
it's all good news. We keep forgetting to ask people to subscribe to this thing.
Oh,
I keep forgetting. So, but please just hit the subscribe button or whatever it is you do. I don't know. I'm not 12, so I don't know what you're supposed to say on YouTube.
There's a subscribe thing on YouTube.
Yeah,
Everybody subscribe.
Like it, subscribe, all this kind of stuff.
We're going to do a push on Twitter. We want our subscriptions to come up. Now we can focus on this thing actually being a show, because before we weren't sure. But now we're back. We're kind of sure that this is going to be a show. Our opening graphics are too good. We can't. Now we have to have a show. We're beholden to Chuck.
We got to stick around.
We got to stick around because he raised the bar on us.
They've pulled us back. So Frank, thanks so much for coming and joining us tonight. This was a lot of fun. We really learned a lot, as we always do, talking to you. I hope everybody goes and buys your book and joins you next summer on this cruise, which sounds super fun, and watches you in 45 minutes.
Indeed. Yep.
On
Stay
the show.
safe. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Frank.
Bye.
Thank you. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back. I just want to make sure I'm going to hit the right thing here. We will be back next week, next Friday. We'll be back. We're now back doing the show again. It's like, that's what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah. It was a little bumpy. Greg, it was a little bumpy. It was a little bumpy getting.
It was only 3 weeks out. Look at my backdrop here. I literally at 7:15 I had to drive 20 minutes somewhere else and set this thing up. It's a miracle this thing happened at all. So take that, Mercury retrograde. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Thanks again to Chunk for doing these great credits. LB, great to see you.
Good to
I will
see you, buddy.
next week. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.